Hello. Today I'm going to tie for you a parachute style blue-winged olive. They're rather small one, size 18. I was out on Spring Creek a couple of days ago and there wasn't quite a hatch, but a few of these guys were popping off and I wish I would have had more with me. We're going to do this on a Mustad hook, 94 840 in size 18. We'll use Coq de Leon fibers for a tail, superfine dubbing for both the abdomen and the thorax. And I'm going to use what's left of this 6/0 brown Uni-Thread for a rib. I'm going to use some poly. I'll talk more about that later for a post. And we'll wrap that with a saddle hackle. This whiting cape has great hackles. And we'll hold it all together with 8/0 Uni-Thread in white. But I am going to color it up a little bit and make kind of an orangish head. And there's more about that too. We'll talk about it when we get there. So we'll get one of these little hooks in the vise and get started. And I started to thread back a little bit, so it kind of reminds me of where I want to end the body, the abdomen, and where I want to tie in the post. And we'll come back to the end of the shank. And then I struggle with this end of the shank thing because it's somewhere around that curved area where the straight part starts, and it's not quite precise enough for me. It bothers me. So I kind of deal in hook lengths. And I also like the looks of a slightly larger fly on a smaller hook. That's just me. I don't like it the other way around at all, like a small fly on a large hook. So here we've got a bundle, probably 10 or 12 of those Coq de Leon fibers tied in, wrapped forward to where we start our thread, and we snipped off the excess. Now here I doubled over a piece of that 6/0 dark brown Uni-Thread. And we'll tie that in, keep it on my side, and wrap all the way to the back where we left off. And that'll be where we start our rib. I'll twist that and use it for a rib later. I won't leave it quite long enough to put in the material clip, but that's okay. So here I have some of that superfine dubbing, and I talked about this before. It's a long staple dubbing. So what I usually do is as I pull it out, it's called carding. You kind of pull it apart with your fingers, and then I'll snip it in half or maybe in thirds as far as length goes, so it's easier to dub. So here we are dubbing, and I have it on rather thick there at the end closest to the hook, and we'll deal with that in a second. I'll show you. I was gonna undo some things. It's really hard to get back off of there, so here's one way of dealing with it. I'll go around till I kind of get it pinched or caught, and then I'll twist it up tight. And another twist, and I can come on back to where the tail began and start the body. So I'm kind of shooting for more or less a tube here. A little taper is okay. Now I've got another spot that bunched up and loosened, and we'll twist it a little more and move on forward. Now it's going to come up and get some wraps right behind the eye of the hook, but there was still some dubbing on there, so I backed off a little bit. And I moved back to that point where I'm going to tie in the post. But this is also where we're going to finish the rib. So come in with my shepherd's hook and I'll give it a twist. Now I twist it up pretty good. I don't want it to separate as I'm wrapping it for a rib. A single strand didn't seem like quite enough for me. I'm going to counter wrap this so it doesn't sink in and get lost in the dubbing. If it fell between the wraps of the dubbing wrapped in the conventional direction, it kind of disappears in spots, and it's not really what I was after. So I took it off the hook and put it in the hackle pliers just to kind of swing it between the camera and everything a little easier. And I didn't use the rotary feature this time, and it was, I don't know, it was a game time decision there. I just started wrapping and realized I hadn't done a half hitch or a whip finish in front of it, and so I just went ahead and finished by hand. So nothing wrong with that. The ribs are evenly spaced. That's the look that I was going for. Get about 3 wraps over that doubled up Uni-Thread, and I can snip off the excess there. All right, so here I'm going to come in with about half a strand of that poly fiber. Now what this is, Charlie Craven has been, and you guys all know who he is. He's been hinting about and using some fiber, some poly he got from a craft store. I think I found the same thing or something very similar. So um, I like using the gray or the what might pass for dun colored um, poly for posts on some of these flies, and I bought some of that color and some in an amber that I think I can use for shucks. And for about $4 a skein, I have enough to last probably 3 generations. So thanks to Charlie Craven for pointing that out. And we always like alternative sources of materials, and we always like lifetime supplies of everything. So there, I've passed the bobbin around the post, and I'll put a drop of super glue on the post to kind of hold it in place. And there's the that Grizzly saddle hackle. So I stripped off a little bit at the bottom. We'll catch it with a couple of wraps in front, and then go behind and start to do the same thing. I'm going to wrap this up the post too. I'm going to wrap, and then this is the way I started doing parachutes, and I think I'm still practicing, but I kind of settled here for now. I'm going to start at the top and wrap the hackle down the post and finish just underneath, and then do my little half hitch tool around the eye of the hook. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll be doing it in this video. So the hackle's pinched up out of the way. So here what I was after. This is a yellow marker, but it kind of comes out a little brown. And for some reason, and you'll see later, I'm not sure what, well, I think I know, but I'll mention it then, and we can kind of guess or assume, but the head color changes at the end. So now I'm coming in with a little, another piece of darker superfine dubbing, and I'm going to do the thorax a little darker. So I'll get that twisted up and start in there, leave that colored up head, and if you look close, that head kind of, I don't know, it soaked up some of that super glue and it changed color. It turned a little brown, and that might have to do with the dye that was in the Uni-Thread or something. I'm not sure, I'm guessing. In any case, I like the color. And so we'll finish the thorax. Got that little bullet shape on there. This is another thing I started doing. I kind of tilt the hook in the vise. I was doing this straight vertical, and then I realized that everything kind of hangs in there a little better if I do it at a little bit of this angle like this. So there's a little half a drop of that thicker head cement. I'll wrap the hackle into that. And again, a lot of this is overkill, but I came from, my first career was in the engineering world, so I kind of over-engineer almost everything I do. And that's both an advantage and a fault. So we've got some bare stem to get started with here. And we're wrapping the hackle, and the good side of the hackle is actually facing down on this one, and let it kind of wrap with the barbs pointing up. So I'll get about 3 wraps behind there. Careful kind of working the thread around so I don't trap too many fibers. Give it a good tug. And here's where I'll come up with my half hitch tool from the bottom. And I'm wrapping that from the back and front, kind of in the opposite direction with the half hitch tool. And the idea there is, and I mentioned this in the other videos where I did this, but when the thread comes around the post and then across the top of the hook before it goes into the half hitch, it leaves that bare straight section of thread in the middle up top, under the hackle, but on top, not down the side on either side where it'd be more obvious, more visible. So I did 3 double half hitches there, and that to be honest, that marker is juicy and sticky, and it kind of was giving me fits there and keeping it the last half hitch from pulling tight. But I think we got it, and we snipped that off. I'll straighten it out in the vise, and we'll do some last minute trimming and primping and center up the camera, brush out the poly a little bit. Now from other videos, you guys may recall this, but I like to cut the post at a little bit of an angle. And especially on the olives, I think this is the shape that I saw in the water. And to be honest, on Spring Creek, I think this one's a size 18, but I think it's still a little big compared to what I saw out there. So hopefully bigger ones come off later, next time I'm back there. There you get a good look at that head. It kind of got reddish brown on me. And I swear that marker was yellow. I'm not sure how that happened, but I'll take it. I'll put a little head cement on those half hitches. And just for, as Oliver Edwards would say, bits and braces, I think is his terminology there. It's an English term. But he came in and add a little drop of head cement around the post as well to finish things off. So there it is. I think that'll do some damage or catch some fish. And there's a little surprise here at the end if you hung in there. My wife and I are also kind of handy in the craft department, and we were figuring out how to do a process called sublimation. So I whipped up this design. That's my Orvis new blackout rod, a Mirage reel, and some fish skin looking background, and it says it's about to get real, with reel spelled R-E-E-L. So if you hung in there to the end and you want to learn more about me, look me up on Amazon. And until next time, be safe.